Madam Speaker, the buses will be refurbished. Just to repeat, the doors will be on the appropriate side for safety. And I think most importantly, the speed on these buses will be governed. Yes. So they won't be able to drive above a certain set speed to ensure safety of the children. On some of the buses, where there is connectivity, we will place cameras, and the collection of fares will be digital. Yes. Now, these are refurbished. They are going to be refurbished. So they will be refurbished with those.
So, it is not at all going to be entertain disturbance to the budget debate. Do not answer any member questioning you in this House. Please continue with the debate, Prime Minister.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. So this marks a transformative step in making school transportation safer, more reliable, and more affordable for Jamaican students. Others talk about it, but we do it. Madam Speaker, in the public discourse around human capital, there is a tendency to overlook the vital role of public health. A healthy society is a productive society, and so the reverse is also true. I'm not here going to deliver the extensive presentation which I know that the Minister of Health will deliver in the sectoral debate, but I could not let some accusations from the opposition leader go unanswered. It is clear that the opposition leader forgot what his government left behind in 2016 in healthcare, a system described by his spokesperson, his current spokesperson on health, as so broken down that surgeons had to don garbage bags to conduct surgeries. Today, we accept we are not perfect, but we have come a far way since that time. He has no moral authority to lecture us on the progress we have made since they left the healthcare system in shambles. Imagine how we would have feared if they were the government when the COVID pandemic hit us. Here are some of the truths about our health system today. There are more posts for doctors. There are more posts for nurses, more hospital beds, and there are more hospital beds to come. There are more operating theaters, and more theaters will be built. A healthcare budget that has expanded from $60 billion to $140 billion in 9 years, the largest increase, and this is with the largest infrastructure expansion in healthcare since independence. Madam Speaker, we agree that prevention is better than cure. They make light of our pre-screening program, Know Your Numbers. Well, after a year and a half of over 220,000 tests, after a year and a half, we have conducted over 222,000 tests, and this, Madam Speaker, is saving the lives of many Jamaicans. Because as they know, they are able to take corrective action. Madam Speaker, our investment is the most of any government in healthcare, and that is a fact. Madam Speaker, this government has invested significant sums in water. As I now turn to the I in Aspire, 150,000 Jamaicans now have improved water supply through our investments over the last 5 years. We are investing at a rate not seen since the 1980s, with public investments amounting to $22 billion and private investments in excess of $14.2 billion through public-private partnerships. The map that will shortly be displayed shows work completed in fiscal year 2024-2025, shown in green, and upcoming projects for which procurement is in progress in white. So we have covered almost all of Jamaica with a water project. Madam Speaker, we do not only announce, we deliver, and we are breaking ground and commissioning water supply systems almost weekly. Last week, I was with Minister Samuda, and we looked at several water projects in St. Elizabeth. A proper account of the extensive work undertaken in every constituency would require us to be here all night. But I can assure you that work is being done in every constituency, and the details will be provided by Minister Samuda, who is now a member of this Honourable House. Minister Samuda will also give an update on the environment and climate change. However, I would like to make mention of a few areas underwater. Very important one, the Western Parishes water supply.
I'm very sorry to interrupt your presentation. Member Daly, you can't sit in the House and keep shouting and speaking to the member on their feet. It is the member from St. Catherine.
Madam Speaker, the severe drought which affected Western Jamaica disproportionately prompted the acceleration of major capital works to replace transmission mains in the parish of Trelawney, St. James, Hanover, and Westmoreland. This is a $28 billion three-year project which will commence in May 2025 and reduce water insecurity and non-revenue water, and involves upgrading 28 kilometers of main transmission lines from St. James to Trelawney and 37.5 kilometers from Lucy to Negril. On completion, it will benefit over 250,000 residents and business customers and catalyze development in the key tourism sector. I just want to say, Madam Speaker, that this is a game changer for water in the northwestern parishes.
Absolutely.
Madam Speaker, 6 major projects funded by the Caribbean Development Bank are being undertaken by the Rural Water Supply Limited, which will significantly improve access and transform the lives of more than 38,000 Jamaicans in rural areas of Southeast, Western St. Mary's, Southern Trelawney, Northeast St. Elizabeth, Eastern St. Thomas, and Northwest St. Anne. Currently, the Rural Water Supply Limited and the CDB are finalizing the necessary documentation for procuring design services, with the advertisement expected to be published in March 2025. Madam Speaker, I've spoken extensively about the Greater Mandeville Water Supply Project, a $2.7 billion project, which is spread over 5 years. We are midway the 5 years. And this project will reduce non-revenue water to below 50%, increase service reliability and quality, given that we are now building out new houses, new housing schemes in Mandeville and other areas. Madam Speaker, the Ray Cobre Water Plant Project, something that we have been talking about from 2009, has been discussed. We have been discussing this for years. I'm pleased to report that it is now finally in the construction phase. Construction has started. And we are targeting completion by the end of 2026. Others talk about it. we deliver it. Madam Speaker, the expansion of the sewer network in Kingston and St. Andrew is critical to the future development within the parish, both to facilitate greater densities and safeguard groundwater. This year, the NWC will be investing $1.4 billion into the laying of sewer lines along Monroe Road, Retreat Avenue, Seymour Avenue, and Old Road. Additionally, there are two areas of deep concern which must be addressed forthwith. The first is the situation in downtown Kingston with collapsing sewer mains and overall of the entire potable water, sewage, and drainage network is required for most of Central and West Kingston. I have directed Minister Samuda to ensure that the project design for this massive infrastructure is done this year. I have further directed that $450 million be immediately deployed to the worst affected areas within the Market District to provide immediate relief. The NWC has also commenced procurement of an additional HVAC truck to be stationed downtown to ensure that any blockages that emerge are immediately dealt with. Madam Speaker, the infrastructure is old. It is aging and collapsing. Decades of no investment. It is now showing. And it is this administration that is finding the economic wherewithal to deal with the maintenance of these critical infrastructure. Madam Speaker, I just quickly want to say that we have now started the distribution of the Black Tank program. MPs are now collecting and distributing tanks in their constituencies. We hope that that can move very quickly to mitigate any impact of drought that may occur later in the year. Madam Speaker, in November 2024, I announced that the NWC would provide an amnesty to customers cut off from the utility for more than 6 months. The amnesty has benefited pensioners, PATH recipients, and members of the disabled community with up to 100% reprieve and up to 50% for other categories of customers. As at March 14, 2025, over 21,000 customers had engaged in the process. Total reconnections so far are 3,271, with a further 5,135 awaiting reconnections. This has yielded over $207 million in revenues collected for the NWC, and that would have been uncollectible otherwise. We have also written off over $600 million of debt from those who most need it, restoring the supply of water and returning dignity to those households. Madam Speaker, this government is helping our most vulnerable. As such, I have instructed the National Water Commission to extend the program for a further 2 months. Madam Speaker, we do this because we care about the people. Madam Speaker, a strong road network is vital to a thriving economy. This government has taken bold steps to modernize roads, enhance resilience, and ensure sustainability. Madam Speaker, the Southern Coast Highway project is now 95% complete. The remaining segment from Yallas Bridge to Port Antonio and Morant Bay to Cedar Valley will reach completion in June 2025. This transformative project has delivered 141 kilometers of reconstructed roads, 248 kilometers of water pipelines, and 140 kilometers of fiber optic ducts, significantly enhancing connectivity and essential utilities. The truth is, Madam Speaker, what we have done for St. Thomas is to reverse decades of institutional neglect. St. Thomas is now set for takeoff. The launch of the $45 billion Spark program marked another pivotal achievement of our road and water supply infrastructure. For the first time, all constituencies had an opportunity to provide an input, and as I had committed, construction work began before the end of 2024, with the rehabilitation of Everest Drive in Harbourview. Since then, work orders have been issued covering 126 roads across 63 constituencies. Within the next 6 weeks, we have programmed for construction to begin on another 126 roads, representing the largest single event of road construction in the history of independent Jamaica. That is 252 community roads to be completed by October this year. And Madam Speaker, the member from East Kingston and Port Royal can attest to it. Yes. He can attest to it. Road is going on in this constituency. The special CAPEX program represents a strategic push to modernize our urban infrastructure, integrating road, drainage, sewage, and broadband upgrades to enhance safety, traffic management. Under this program, Grange Lane, I toured Grange Lane recently in Portmore, and it is 90% complete, with the next major project being the dualization of Brayton Road and sections of the Helsha Main Road at a cost of $2.4 billion. We are making investments in the new parish of Portmore. Other projects include the Arthur Wint Drive extension, and we have expanded the original scope to include the stretch from Arthur Wint Drive to Tom Redcombe and Camp Road, incorporating sewage and additional water infrastructure, ensuring greater benefits for residents, businesses, and future developments. Madam Speaker, the government will invest $2 billion to enhance key entrance corridors leading into the capital city, creating a more attractive and welcoming gateway. This initiative will focus on major thoroughfares, including the Airport Road from Norman Manley International Airport to Mountain View, from the roundabout to Port Royal. Well, you know, the member again from East Kingston and Port Royal several years ago came to me and he pointed out that his government had budgeted or projected to do that program. But the truth is, it didn't get done. And I have committed, Madam Speaker, that the road really deserves to be done. No political issues here. That road is the entrance to the city. And it is in a deplorable condition. So that road will be done. So that's one of the roads to be done. We will be doing as well 6 miles to Dunrobin Avenue and 6 miles to the Portia Simpson Miller Square through to downtown via Spanish Town Road. The project will begin with the pre-investment works, including design and planning, community consultations, and these upgrades will not only beautify Kingston's points of entry, but also enhance infrastructure, improve connectivity, and create a positive impression for visitors and residents alike. I want to give a quick update and just to keep our citizens who are looking out for their bypasses. So we have the bypass road projects that's still ongoing. So we will have a bypass for Port Maria, for Santa Cruz, for Lucy, for Anato Bay, for Hopewell and Sandy Bay. And the Port Antonio bypass is set to begin in the fiscal year coming, following the completion of the feasibility study. So we are going to start the Port Antonio bypass. Madam Speaker, under the accelerated bridge renewal project, we are upgrading and replacing over 55 critical bridges. Work on the Craigmill Bridge in Portland is set to begin early in the new financial year. As part of the project, a pedestrian bridge will first be built to restore foot traffic for the community, which is now cut off. The House will be happy to hear that the Troy Bridge is now approximately 50% complete. Other key projects including Spring Village Bridge in St. Catherine and Alley Bridge in Clarendon. New bridges under development include in Westmoreland, the Southwood Bridge, Barham in Westmoreland rather, Southwood in Clarendon, and Guanabo Vale in St. Catherine. Toll roads. Madam Speaker, let me now speak on toll roads, which is a critical aspect of our improved connectivity, productivity, and efficiency. We know that long waiting times at toll plazas can cause costly delays, frustration, and impact the nation's productivity. The Angels Toll Plaza is now one of the busiest of our network. And I'm pleased to announce that 3 additional lanes will be added to the Angels Toll Plaza. We are very advanced with the engineering designs for those. A longer-term, more transformative change will be the introduction of open road tolling. This is a state-of-the-art system that allows vehicles to be charged electronically without having to stop at a toll booth. This system is widely used across the world and has proven to be faster, more efficient, and more convenient. The Montego Bay Perimeter Road will serve as the first road to have this system. Let me give a quick update on the Montego Bay Perimeter Road, which includes the Long Hill Bypass and critical upgrades to Barnett Street and West Green Avenue. For residents in the Long Hill area, you would have already noticed that clearing works have commenced. The initial concept of the Long Hill Bypass considered 2 lanes. However, the government has taken a strategic decision to expand the roadway to 4 lanes. So the people in that side of Jamaica, St. James, Hanover, Westmoreland, that would rely on that very important corridor, which is now an obstacle course, when this is done, they will have a 4-lane highway. Additionally, works on the Montego Bay Bypass are progressing rapidly, with earthworks at a very advanced stage, and the Montego Bay River Bridge, which I toured recently, is 95% complete. That's the highest and longest bridge in Jamaica, an impressive piece of infrastructure. As of today, the overall project stands at 55% complete. Once finished, this network of roads will significantly ease the long-standing traffic challenges in Montego Bay and open up new areas for development, fostering greater investment and economic activities. Jamaica's North Coast, Madam Speaker, is booming. The Miami Bay area has emerged as a new urban corridor between Ocho Rios and St. Anne. It is also a critical tourism corridor. And in recent times, it has become an area for residential communities. Effectively, the corridor, which is supposed to be part of the North Coast Highway, is now serving as the main boulevard to a town, with several ingress and egress from local roads. The corridor now handles traffic coming to and from the North-South Toll Road, traffic moving between Ocho Rios and St. Anne's Bay, and local traffic moving within the various businesses and residences along the corridor. This has created a significant traffic hazard for residents and commuters, which will stifle the natural development energy in the area. This situation would be further complicated if we should proceed to widen and improve the existing roadway without having an alternative in place, as there are no other viable alternatives. We have learned our lesson from the South Coast Highway Improvement Project, which created significant dislocation to residents in St. Thomas as we fixed the road while they were using it. This dislocation and risk to residents, businesses, and the government would be far more costly in this case. Can you imagine a road obstruction that prevents a tourist bus getting to their flight on time to the Donald Sangster International Airport, or missing their cruise ship return at the Reynolds Pier, or persons can't get to their homes because of some obstruction in that one little road? And can you imagine an obstruction on just that one road, how it would impact the entire north-south traffic? So, while we are currently engaged in the North-South Highway PPP project to design and build out the upgrades, particularly the Miami Bay section of the road, the government has decided also to pursue the extension of the North-South toll road, which will begin with a cloverleaf interchange at Miami Bay, extending westward to Discovery Bay, that's phase 1A, and eastward to Prospect in St. Mary, phase 1B. So this, Madam Speaker, is a major infrastructure development that will allow you to go around Ocherius and to go around the Miami Bay area and Prairie. And that, Madam Speaker, will increase the natural urbanization energy which exists in that corridor. Now you're going to see the expansion of businesses along that corridor, the expansion of houses in the Draxall area, but it also takes off the congestion out of Ocherius so that Ocherius can truly develop as a tourism town. So given the urgency of the development and the dislocation risks involved in upgrading this existing roadway, the government of Jamaica will take steps to designate the North-South Highway extension as a national development project. Madam Speaker, for decades, road maintenance in Jamaica suffered from issues of fragmented responsibility among the NWA local municipal corporations and the Ministry of Agriculture, as well as inadequate preventative maintenance. For years, multiple agencies have been responsible for different aspects of road upkeep. Leading to inefficiencies, gaps in accountability, and inconsistent standards. Additionally, a lack of structured preventative maintenance has resulted in roads deteriorating faster than they should, increasing the burden of costly emergency repairs. This reactive approach is neither sustainable nor cost-effective. We are therefore undertaking a strategic review of road maintenance with a focus on institutional governance arrangements to give consideration to the possible establishment of a single road authority to streamline governance and oversight. With this in place, we can have clear lines of enforcement against persons who destroy our roads. It is particularly disturbing to see concrete spilled on our roads and no accountability for clearing and restoration. Now, I want to express my gratitude to the World Bank and the UK Foreign Commonwealth and Development Office for providing technical assistance with the review, including information and approaches and models for road maintenance that have been successful in other countries. We are also integrating geospatial technologies and AI-driven solutions to improve planning and efficiency. we have significantly mapped and referenced over 90% of all roads in Jamaica. This information will help us to create an intelligence register of all our roads, to use it in spatial planning, and importantly, to develop a fiscal preventative maintenance plan which aligns to the engineered lifespan of the road. This also lays the basis for smarter and connected infrastructure to address traffic, public safety, civil defense, security, and logistics. To this end, I have given directions to the NAA and the Spatial Data Management Branch to begin work on developing a uniformed address system and zip code for Jamaica, including the use of digital addresses. So finally, Jamaica will have a standardized system of road naming, of one spelling of the road. You know, Madam Speaker, when you look at the vote, Mr. Speaker, when you look at the voters list and you are trying to order and sort the voters list, and you see 10 different spelling of the roads, 10 different ways of writing addresses. In a modern country, that shouldn't be the case. We need to have one uniform system of address. And I've given the directives for us to start on this path. Madam Speaker, Mr. Speaker, after decades of underinvestment, we are shifting to a structured, sustainable, tech-based system of road maintenance, and this approach will extend the road lifespan, reduce frequent repairs, and improve safety. This government is not just rebuilding roads, we are building a smarter, more resilient future for Jamaica. Madam Speaker, approximately 20% of Jamaicans live in informal settlements, but in urban areas, the situation is even more dire. 60% of the urban population reside in unplanned, substandard housing, which is higher than the average in other Latin American and Caribbean countries. Madam Speaker, we are committed to transforming informal settlements into secure, legally recognized communities that foster stability, economic development, and a better quality of life for all Jamaicans. Madam Speaker, in 2007, the Jamaica Labour Party government restructured the failed Operation Pride into the Housing Agency of Jamaica, making it the leading force in tenure regularization. The HAJ continues to prioritize security of tenure for low and middle income earners, delivering approximately 1,000 homes across projects such as St. Paul's Lane in Kingston in my constituency, St. Catherine Estates in St. Catherine, Sandown Palms in St. Catherine, and Edmund Ridge in St. James. Additionally, the HAJ has been tasked with the upgrading of 81 informal communities, with work set to begin in Eden Park, St. Mary. To expand home ownership, the HAJ plans to implement 10,000 housing starts and 4,000 completed solutions over the next 4 years. The HAJ will also be intervening in 5 small, informal urban communities. That is, communities 5 acres or less, to upgrade their housing and infrastructure, replicating the success of the St. Paul's Lane model. We have identified communities in Almond Town, Anato Bay, Parade Gardens, Long Acres in Montego Bay, and Russia in Savannah Mar as communities to benefit from this intervention. Penwood Road has a particular challenge, which I've asked the HAJ to investigate. There is the land is lower than the road, and so there is a flooding issue, and so they have to figure out how to solve that. Madam Speaker, through systematic land titling and registration, the National Land Agency is set to deliver 12,000 titles. 12,000 titles ending this year, and they are targeting an additional 8,000 additional titles in 2025-2026. The NLA, Mr. Speaker, is well advanced in deploying a system of electronic titles. So this will transform the whole issuing of titles and the speed of issuing of titles in Jamaica. In fact, they are expecting to start by 2027-2028. We are now ready to use systematic titling to regularize parcels in urban areas, starting with a pilot in Kingston and St. Andrew. And to support this expansion, we are increasing the number of commissioned land surveyors through an apprenticeship program at the NLA, with plans to train 33 student surveyors and equip them with modern surveying instruments. Additionally, a geospatial training center developed in partnership with the Government of Korea will enhance land survey capabilities using advanced unmanned drones to expedite cadastral mapping and land registration. Mr. Speaker, a substantial number of communities across Jamaica have shared facilities, which necessitate shared management of expenses. There is an increasing effective demand for these types of developments as Jamaica has steadily moved towards a stable and prosperous economy. Unfortunately, as experience has shown with strata properties, these communities are plagued by numerous challenges that can only be adequately addressed by new legislation. The government has heeded the numerous cries for help, and Madam Speaker, as promised in my 2024 budget presentation, the long-awaited registration shared community bill was tabled in the House of Parliament on March 18, 2025. Commitment made, commitment kept. This act, when passed, will provide a clear legal framework to govern all new and existing communities where their proprietors own common real estate or any other facilities and amenities. Madam Speaker, I encourage property owners to review the legislation and provide any feedback where necessary to ensure it adequately addresses your needs. Mr. Speaker, beyond the regularization of existing settlements, we are also building entirely new planned settlements to provide high-quality, affordable housing for Jamaicans. The Bernard Lodge project was the first of this large-scale master plan development and represents a new era in sustainable and structured community development in Jamaica. Madam Speaker, Mr. Speaker, I toured the Bernard Lodge project recently, and it looked as if it could have been anywhere in Miami. Yes. It is a whole different world over there. By integrating green spaces, essential services, and economic opportunities, Bernard Lodge will offer a high quality of life for its residents while serving as a model for future planned developments across Jamaica of this nature. That's in the new parish of Port. So, Madam Speaker, already to date, 6,000 units have been completed or are under construction. And they are moving at a rapid pace. When it is all finished, there will be about 15,000 homes. It will be the most modern community in Jamaica. And we have the pleasure of being the founders of that community. Madam Speaker, the next planned development of this kind will be in Innswood. I have given directives to the NHT to lead a multi-agency team to undertake the master planning for lands at Innswood, in addition to lands slated for development along the St. John's Road corridor. And let me say, Madam Speaker, the St. John's Road corridor is another corridor of significant traffic congestion, particularly on a weekend, because there are two large cemeteries in that area, but there are also large communities in that area. In fact, there is a community called Naysbury Grove, a community that was founded under the Operation Pride scheme, where the people were given lands. You know, it is really sad when you go there. There is no infrastructure. There is no real titling, no roads. The people have just been left there. If the objective of Pride was to give people land and give them dignity, it failed miserably. So what we're going to do, Madam Speaker, is when we do the master planning for Innswood, we're going to extend the master plan to take into consideration the St. John's Road corridor and all the lands around there, because, Madam Speaker, there is significant private sector interest in developing the land, but they have problems getting approvals because there's so much uncertainty. There is a major drainage problem in the area. And so what we're going to do, Madam Speaker, is to do a comprehensive development plan. And therefore, we will call the area the Greater Innswood Development Area. So that, Madam Speaker, will be the next Bernard Lodge. It will take about a year and a half to do the master planning, to secure approvals, the general approvals, to mobilize resources, to treat with the necessary drainage, to deal with the roadway, and then to where we have lands to go through a process of divestment, and then to deal with common infrastructure. And, Madam Speaker, I am certain that we will be creating the second most modern community in Jamaica, in Innswood. Madam Speaker, the NHT has 12 projects that we will be executing this year, and they are at varying stages. Mount Nelson in Manchester, 1,758 units, for which I broke ground earlier this month. Galena in St. Mary, 360. Dry Valley in Trelawney, 1,560. Brampton Farm, St. Catherine, 2,000. Spot Valley, St. James, 418. Carlsberg in Clarendon, 200. Chantilly in Westmoreland, 135. Friendship Oaks, Phase 2, St. Elizabeth, 543. Longville Park Pen in Clarendon, 2,077. Barrett Hall in St. James, 1,565. Roselle in St. Thomas, pay attention to that one, 660. And Nonsuch, St. Mary, 46. Planning and designs are also underway for schemes consisting of 10,598 solutions, including 5,000 solutions in Longville Park, in Longville 4, Clarendon. Madam Speaker, the NHD will commence construction on more than 19,575 solutions across all parishes over the next 2 years and continues to acquire land for new development. Madam Speaker, one of the challenges that developers face is that advances provided by the NHD are insufficient to cover large initial capital outlays required, as infrastructure can account for some 20 to 25% of overall project costs. Therefore, the NHD is revising its NHD financing program to enhance flexibility in the release of payment advances. In addition to the current mobilization advance of up to 5%, the NHD will provide an additional 20% for developers and 15% for the guaranteed purchase program to reimburse developers at different stages of the project as key infrastructure milestones are reached. Madam Speaker, this is necessary to increase funding for development. Additionally, Madam Speaker, in order to address the difficulty of identifying and accessing large tracts of land for housing in some areas, especially urban and semi-urban areas, the NHD will seek to partner with owners of small parcels of land under the Small Development Partnership Program. This initiative will see the NHD providing project funding and the technical and construction expertise, while the landowner will offer their property as their equity for the development. The proposed properties must be zoned for residential purposes and have access to the requisite support infrastructure, potable water, electricity, sewage. This is targeted at houses for low-income and affordable segments of the housing market. Therefore, the selling price of the units must be under the price point set by the NHD. Madam Speaker, this initiative is going to be a game changer for resuscitating communities that are suffering from urban blight. So what this is doing is, Madam Speaker, so if you have a community where somebody has a half acre, a 3/4 acre of land, it's depressed, they can approach the NHD and say, partner with me to develop this into smaller housing solutions at more affordable prices. And if we get this done in mass, communities like Central Kingston, Grants Pen, West Kingston, you name it, communities that are already structured, they have roadways, the water mains are already there, in some cases sewer is already there. Then what you would see is developers, well, they may not be developers now, but people who own land in those communities, who would not be able to go and approach a bank because the bank would say, this is not a bankable property. But now they could approach the NHD, and the NHD would facilitate the development, even purchase the homes from them, and then resell them. Now, once you start to get that in mass, you can start to transform entire areas, but with a lower infrastructure cost, because the roads are already there. They just need to be patched. The water main is already there. So that is the thinking behind this strategy. And I'm certain that this is going to instigate a transformation of some of the communities. Madam Speaker, there are so many initiatives that I'm afraid I will have to skip through a few of them, but let me So, so currently, the NHD provides 100% mortgage financing to mortgagors for its scheme solutions for housing units and house lots purchased by the NHD contributors on the open market. The NHD provides a maximum of 95% financing, requiring prospective mortgagors to finance the deposit of 5%. The inability to find the deposit for property figures prominently among the impediments to homeowners. Therefore, commencing July 1, 2025, for contributors who earn less than $30,000 weekly, the deposit requirement on open market loans will be reduced to 2% if the housing solution being acquired is priced at or below $14 million. Starting July 1, 2025, the service charge on mortgages will be reduced as follows. For prospective mortgagors who earn $30,000 or less each week, their service charge will be reduced from 2% to a loan, will be reduced from 2% of the loan amount to 0. Yeah, so if you earn $30,000 or less, no interest, no service charge. And for prospective mortgagors earning between $30,000 and $42,000 per week, the service charge will be reduced from 5% of the loan to 2%. Prospective mortgagors earning $42,100 per week or $42,001 per week and above, their service charge remain at 5%. Madam Speaker, currently a minimum wage earner who has contributed to the NHD for at least 7 years may access a home grant of up to $3.5 million. We are modifying the eligibility requirement in order to make the grant available to more contributors. The maximum qualifying income for home grants will now be $30,000 per week. The NHD is mindful that house construction can be challenging, particularly in light of the rising cost of labor and materials. Consequently, a number of contributors have been unable to complete their housing units or bring it to a habitable stage, resulting in some instances in contributors having to balance their limited resources between rent and servicing construction loans. In instances where a current or retired contributor earning $30,000 per week or less accessed a build-and-own land or construction loan benefit to construct a housing unit comprising 2 bedrooms or less, for which that unit has remained incomplete for 2 years or more due to unavailability of funds, the NHD will firstly offer the mortgagor an additional loan of up to the difference between the balance of the borrower's current loan and a limit of $11 million subject to affordability. Secondly, where this additional fund is not able to bring the unit to a habitable stage, or in the case of a pensioner, there is insufficient income to support a loan arrangement, the NHD may provide a home grant of up to $3.5 million to assist in bringing the unit to completion. Now, Madam Speaker, a number of contributors who work in the public health system face challenges in finding suitable housing, especially when they are not from a nearby community or where they have been transferred from another health facility. The NHD will expand its institutional loan program and pursue partnerships with hospitals through the Ministry of Health and Wellness and the regional health authorities to provide housing for employees in the public health system. Where possible, these housing units will be constructed on the hospital compound. The NHD, yes. The NHD has begun preliminary discussions with the University Hospital of the West Indies and one rural hospital under this program. So we're going to see some houses, Minister Tufton, finally built for our doctors and nurses. Madam Speaker, currently, all contributors who do not have a mortgage processed directly with the NHT are eligible for a cash refund of their contributions as they fall due. Public sector workers are, however, able to access cash refunds even while servicing a mortgage. This option is not currently available to private sector mortgagors. Effective July 1, 2025, private sector mortgagors will have the option of either a cash refund or the application of their refund amounts to their existing mortgage obligations, provided that the loan is free of arrears. Madam Speaker, this will be assessed on a year-by-year basis based upon the NHT's cash flow position. But this is big. This is big. A lot of people, look forward to their refund. Now they will be able to, the private sector persons who have mortgages will have the same options as the public sector workers. Effective July 1, 2025, the NHT will reduce the waiting time for accessing home improvement loans from 10 years to 7 years. So, yeah. So before, you would have to wait 10 years before you could get another home improvement loan. Now we have cut that, and we have increased the loan limit to 5 million from 3.5 million. Madam Speaker, the NHT increased the loan limit in 2019 and again in 2023, and I'm pleased to announce a further increase effective July 1, 2025. The individual loan limit will be increased from 7.5 million to $9 million. For two co-applicants, the combined maximum loan limit will be increased from $15 million to $17 million. And for three co-applicants, it will be increased from $21 million to $23 million. Madam Speaker, if an individual mortgager is purchasing a unit at 14 million or less, the NHT will lend that individual up to $12 million subject to availability. Let me explain that a little bit. Each time we increase, we notice, Madam Speaker, that each time we increase the loan limit, we notice an increase in the price of houses. It is the most frustrating thing. And yes, it is a matter of economics. When you increase effective demand, then more people are chasing houses than there are houses in the market. The competitive system is going to increase the price. So what we have done is to give a greater loan limit for houses that are going to be at what we call affordable price point. And the affordable price point for the NHT is $14 million. In fact, Madam Speaker, we have given a policy directive to the NHT that all their resources should now be directed at producing houses that are around this price point. The NHT will not get involved in any new development of houses above this price point. So, very important, Madam Speaker. Now, you won't always get the houses at exactly 14 million, but you have to be within that target range. Because the truth is, Madam Speaker, that the real housing crisis is in the low income and affordable housing market. And that's where we have to direct So, for construction of houses by, so just to be clear, Madam Speaker, if an individual mortgager is purchasing a unit priced at 14 million or less, the NHT will lend that individual up to $12 million. Now, also for construction of houses by individual contributors, the individual construction loan limit will be increased to $11 million. For two co-applicants, it will be $17 million, and for three, $23 million. Madam Speaker, in 2025-2026 fiscal year, the National Housing Trust will celebrate 50 years of service to the people of Jamaica. Recognizing the profound impact of Emancipation Park and Harmony Park in providing a space for recreation, wellness, and community engagement, the NHT will commemorate its 50-year milestone by developing a new park in Mandeville, the center of the island. So, Madam Speaker, I'm officially announcing the third parish park. Yes, that will be in Mandeville. Additionally, for this special year of the NHT, the Trust will also award 50 scholarships. 50 scholarships instead of the 10 that we usually offer. We'll give 50 scholarships this year in various subjects. Madam Speaker, I want to turn quickly to the Factories Corporation. The Factories Corporation of Jamaica, the FCJ, continues to drive major projects that enhance productivity and capacity for economic growth across the country. The Factories Corporation of Jamaica is playing a critical role in modernizing town centers across the island. The Morant Bay Urban Center faced great skepticism from some, but now it is nearing completion. And I passed here, and it is looking really good, Madam Speaker. In fact, the demand for space there is such that they are going to be constructing an additional 2 buildings, and they have purchased lands to create a small and micro business park. Building on the success of Morant Bay, Boundbrook in Portland is out of the planning phase and will commence construction in the coming financial year. Plans are advanced for similar urban centers for Negril, Nago Head, Whole Harbour, and Lucy. These projects will bring modern infrastructure, commercial opportunities, and essential services to communities across Jamaica. The intention is to modernize all our townships and urban commercial nodes. The truth is, Madam Speaker, all our townships are overcrowded and congested, and unfortunately, aesthetically unappealing. First, we will decongest these towns by developing the bypasses, and this will also open up new lands, which we will then commission master plans for, and then we will use public-private vehicles to execute development of the new urban centers. And then we will partner with the existing property owners in the Old Town Center to develop a new plan for those old areas. So, Madam Speaker, having gone through the successful execution of the Morant Bay Urban Center, we're going to take that and go right across Jamaica to all the townships to upgrade and modernize our towns. Madam Speaker, I want to touch the UDC very quickly. The Portmore Resilience Park is now 50% complete. And it is set to be open this summer. Additionally, next month, we will break ground for the Raintree Commercial Complex, a 69-lot commercial and light industrial subdivision in Caymanas, St. Catherine. This development is part of a larger 4,000-unit residential and mixed-use transformation plan for the Caymanas area. In another significant move towards urban renewal, we are expanding the Kingston Harbour Walk with support from the Caribbean Development Bank and the World Bank, ushering a new era of sustainable development in downtown Kingston and Port Royal. Madam Speaker, in collaboration with the NWA, NEPA, and the National Heritage Trust, the roadway from the Norman Manley Roundabout to Port Royal will be improved, and I noted that before under the NWA, will be improved and expanded to include a dedicated cycling lane and jogging trail. This will be done respectfully of the environment and history of the area. Madam Speaker, Kingston and indeed the wider Jamaica needs more dedicated, purpose-built recreational infrastructure. Madam Speaker, to drive urban renewal, we must modernize the Urban Renewal Tax Relief Act, which since 1995 has incentivized investments in regenerating blighted areas. While it has supported 56 projects, mostly in downtown Kingston, with a handful in Spanish Town and Montego Bay, its impact has been limited. Of the $25.8 billion in approved incentives, only $8.5 billion has been utilized. The program is set to expire in June 2026, presenting an opportunity for a more comprehensive framework to be developed. By December 2025, we will introduce new legislation to expand redevelopment zones, streamlining approvals, and enhancing incentives. Madam Speaker, we will adopt a phased approach with certain areas being designated initially. As those are developed, additional areas will be designated. In the first phase, designated areas will include downtown Kingston, central Kingston, Vineyard Town, Swallow Field, Olympic Gardens, Spanish Town Road, Caymanas, Montego Bay, Port Antonio, Lucy, Negril, and Morant Bay. These areas will be formally reclassified as Urban Development Corporation designated areas, allowing the UDC to spearhead development as it successfully did in Negril and Ocherius many decades ago. So, Madam Speaker, additionally, the cumbersome approval process, which currently takes up to 3 years, will be replaced by a single approval portal under the UDC, drastically reducing delays and making investments more attractive. To further incentivize development, tax credits will become transferable. This means that the unused tax credit associated with a particular property can be transferred upon sale to the new owner, enabling greater flexibility in structuring transactions so that incentives can be fully utilized. With these reforms, the government is laying the foundation for a new era of urban transformation. Energy. Madam Speaker, the government remains resolute in its commitment to a strategic and sustainable energy transition that balances affordability, reliability, and environmental responsibility. Madam Speaker, Jamaica's commitment to renewable energy development has earned global recognition in the 2024 Climate Scope Report by Bloomberg NEF. Jamaica climbed 8 places to rank 39th worldwide and 10th in the Latin American and Caribbean region. This improvement is a testament to our robust energy policies, strategic investments, and our unwavering commitment to achieving 50% renewables by 2030. To further accelerate this transition, the government has recently awarded 100 megawatts of new renewable generation capacity, which is expected to come on stream by 2027. An additional 220 megawatts of renewables with storage are scheduled to be procured in 2025 alongside JPS's replacement of 171.5 megawatts of retiring fossil fuels units using only renewables. This will bring Jamaica's electricity generation to approximately 48% when the projects are connected to the grid. Madam Speaker, this is a measured and structured approach to the priority that we place on a stable grid, cost effectiveness, and the long-term sustainability of our electricity sector. The government acknowledges recent discussions in the media regarding the pace of our renewable energy transition, while some argue that a more rapid shift would be necessary. This government remains committed to a structured and responsible approach that secures low prices while ensuring grid reliability. This is why we are steadfast in our adherence to the Integrated Resource Plan, which serves as a blueprint for sustainable and cost-effective energy development. Madam Speaker, the cost of energy is a key component of the cost of living, and this government has introduced significant changes to cushion the impact of high energy costs. As I had announced in November 2024, and the Minister of Finance and the Public Service stated last week, the GCT on residential electricity will be reduced from 15% to 7% effective May 1, 2025. Also, the 150 kilowatt per month GCT free threshold will be removed and replaced with an incentive-based rebate of 10% for customers consuming up to 250 kilowatt hours per month. Madam Speaker, the rebate has been designed to incentivize energy conservation as only households consuming up to 255 kilowatt hours are entitled to the rebate. Madam Speaker, the government is also determined to address the issue of energy poverty in the country. We are allocating $1 billion to cover wiring and inspection costs for the first 200 first-time JPS customers under the program to regularize and get them on the grid. We are also exploring ways to reduce the cost of formalization, including innovative technical solutions such as ready boards complete with circuit breakers, socket outlets, and a light that could effectively form a low-cost starter pack for household wiring. So, Madam Speaker, the technology actually exists to give you a compact and ready-to-use connection to electricity. So we are exploring that. We have looked at some options. We are displaying one right now. And we're going to be making that available so that people who are now, you know, when you talk to people who are illegally abstracting electricity, let me put it that way. Nice phrase. You know, they know it's wrong, but in their minds, you know, how can we expect them to live without electricity? In effect, there is a kind of expectation, you know, that the use of electricity is a human right, and somehow the state should provide for it. Now, our budget would not be able to take that on, but the current situation is untenable, where there is a large portion of our population that is consuming electricity illegally. Somebody is paying for it, and it is the consumers who actually pay their electricity bills. So we have to find a way, we have to find a good equilibrium in this situation, where we make it easier for people to get onto the grid legally and safely. And then we have to find ways to get people to be able to pay for the electricity as they earn and as they use. So in effect, the challenge is not just the high electricity rates, it is the high onboarding rate, the cost of wiring, the cost of inspection, and then it is the inflexible payment system, especially if you are on the postpaid system. So we have to bring these kinds of innovation to market. And governments have tried. The member from St. Andrews Southeast had mentioned that when he was in the Ministry of Energy, that they had started a project. But this project builds on that in some ways, but this is far more comprehensive. But more than that, this project has staying power, because we're making an allocation for this budget, but you can bet that the next budget we will also have a bigger allocation to do more. So for the first 20,000 prepaid meter installations under the program, there will be a free monthly top-up of $4,000 per month for 6 months, the cost of which will be shared 50-50 between JPSCO and the government. Madam Speaker, as Minister Vaz has already announced, the government has signaled its intention to renegotiate the license with JPS, which expires July 2027, and this is in the process of, we are in the process of engaging international experts to support it. Madam Speaker, I want to now turn very quickly to the reform of the bureaucracy to improve ease, speed, and cost of doing business. The R in Aspire. And let me say, Madam Speaker, that we are serious about reforming Jamaica's bureaucracy. The graph which is about to be shown shows the total factor productivity trend for Jamaica from 1964 to 2019. That's what our productivity, Leader of the Opposition, that's what it looks like. I think it's a national problem. And I mean, you can draw political inferences, but I don't think that is going to be useful in the solution. The real challenge is we're just not as productive as we should be as a nation. And I think I mean, I have to say it, I don't want to say it, it's not the politically correct thing to say, but we can't skip around the problem. Productivity is a real challenge for the country.
Yes, it is.
And you're looking at it from 1964 to 2009, and you can see that there were, moments of spikes when it increased, but by and large, the trend for productivity since our independence is that it is declining. It is declining. So, Madam Speaker, the apparent paradox of lower employment post-2016 it is associated with a flat or marginal declining productivity. So in 2016, what we're seeing with employment is that post-2016, employment is going down. Unemployment is going down. So one would expect that output would be going up. But as was pointed out also by the Leader of the Opposition, the truth is, because we are pulling in marginal labor into the labor force in terms of skills and productivity, what it is doing is actually drawing down overall productivity. And that is why we are investing so heavily through HEART to train those persons who we are bringing in marginally into the workforce to increase their productivity. Just for comparison, the graph that will be shown shortly, for comparison, would be what the productivity of the Dominican Republic, which would be a peer country in the region, looks like. And you can see that their productivity is increasing. The Dominican Republic is probably the fastest growing country outside of Guyana now in the region. And so that is what a growing and a productive country will look like. We need to, Madam Speaker, get our productivity up. To boost productivity, we must urgently reform Jamaica's public bureaucracy. While our stringent fiscal policies have successfully reduced debt and restored stability, the same controls that curbed wasteful spending now delay approvals, stall infrastructure projects, and hinder growth. Yes. These systems must be redesigned to meet today's development needs. A clear example is the Troy Bridge in Trelawney Southern, which collapsed in August 2021. Despite bipartisan support, it took nearly 3 years to clear bureaucratic hurdles before construction finally began in 2024. The delay was not due to funding or technical constraints, but to the inefficiency of our public investment and procurement processes. Jamaica must now shift from merely controlling spending to enabling strategic growth. This does not mean abandoning accountability, but finding a balanced approach that safeguards public funds while allowing decisive action. The amendments to the Procurement Act are a step forward. but much more is needed. Just as we dominate track and field with our speed, we must make efficiency and ease of doing business our competitive edge. By cutting red tape and leveraging technology, we will transform Jamaica into the region's most business-friendly destination. To drive this transformation, I have appointed Minister Marks to lead the Streamlining Processes for Efficiency and Economic Development SPEED initiative. Minister Marks will oversee a comprehensive review of governance systems to eliminate inefficiencies, reduce delays, and enhance business operations. Minister Marks' SPEED mandate is to undertake a comprehensive review of Jamaica's governance arrangements, systems, and processes, and to implement targeted reforms across the whole of government that will eliminate inefficiencies, reduce bureaucratic delays, and enhance the ease and speed of doing business. Today, I'm making the first announcement under SPEED. I have directed Minister Vaz to implement the following changes. 1, the first certificate of fitness for a new motor vehicle will be issued for 5 years. For used vehicles, 10 years or less, the validity period for certificates of fitness will be 3 years. For vehicles older than 10 years, the current yearly renewal schedule will remain. Number 2, vehicle registration. Motorists currently have an option to renew motor vehicle registration for 6 months or for 1 year. We will be introducing a 2-year renewal option. Madam Speaker, just think of the time that we will save people. And we don't lose anything by it. I know it might mash up some people's plan. But that is what efficiency does. You know, Madam Speaker, there is a school of thought about how you deal with corruption. And people don't recognize that corruption and inefficiency are two sides of the same coin. If you really want to deal with corruption, deal with inefficiency. So I'm certain that with just this one move, we will save a lot of man hours and other things as well. So this is just the beginning. We will be reviewing systems and processes across all sectors. And I just want to point out here, especially the approvals. It is a headache and a nightmare. And sometimes I'm of the view that persons are acting deliberately to withhold and frustrate development approvals. It's as if they find every single thing to withhold development. Madam Speaker, as I stand here, we're going to deal with that in a very systematic and surgical way. So, as I said, this is just the beginning. We will be reviewing systems and processes across all sectors to identify ways to make life simpler and more convenient and more affordable for citizens, whether it is in reducing waiting times, improving service delivery, or streamlining regulatory and approval processes. We are taking a comprehensive approach to ensure that everyday experiences in Jamaica for our citizens is one of efficiency, fairness, and ease. Madam Speaker, there can be no digital society without a proper system of identification and authentication. A national identification system has been talked about for over 50 years. The government has finally got it done. We commenced issuing Jamaica's first electronic identification cards on November 15, 2024. The next step is to develop and expand digital services that leverage this secure and reliable form of identification. With the new electronic national identification cards, citizens will be able to verify their identity securely online, eliminating the need for cumbersome paperwork and in-person visits. This will pave the way for e-government services, digital payments, and more efficient, transparent, and inclusive public sector. Madam Speaker, we are not only making life easier for our people, but also unlocking new opportunities for innovation, entrepreneurship, and economic growth. Madam Speaker, pensioners currently have to complete a proof of life form every 3 months and get it signed by a JP. I don't know how they do it. We will soon be introducing the I'm Alive app, or rather I Am Alive app, that will enable you to use your national ID, your NIDS, to complete the proof of life form from the comfort of your home in no more than 2 minutes. We have a short video, I don't know if it can be played, to give a preview of how it will work.
Thank you. He's Tony.
I want to emphasize that the I'm Alive app is just an option, and if persons choose to use the old way, fine with us, but there is now this greater convenient way which we encourage our pensioners to use. We are currently renovating and upgrading the post offices to modern post offices. So, yeah, so we're going to upgrade the post office to modern post offices and nearer service centers. And we're starting in Mandeville, Black River, Maypen, Santa Cruz, Ocho Rios, Montego Bay, Falmouth, St. Anne's Bay, Brownstown, and Spaldings. The construction schedule is to be completed in the first quarter of 2025-2026, and additional locations are slated for renovation, and they are in the process of procurement. And so that will be Mona, Constant Spring, Halfway Tree, Lucy, Savlon Amar. The RGD Spanish Town, Linstead, Hull Harbour, Yallas, Morant Bay, Port Antonio, Port Maria, and Greater Portmore. These will be all areas where persons can go to get their NIDS, their national ID, as soon as they are upgraded. Madam Speaker, I want to now move quickly to the E in Aspire, economic diversification. If we are to secure Jamaica's long-term economic prosperity, we must broaden our economic base and create new engines of growth. This means catalyzing the development of new industries, ones where Jamaica possesses unique comparative and competitive advantages and where we can carve out a niche in the global marketplace. For decades, we have spoken about untapped opportunities in emerging markets. We have recognized Jamaica's potential in areas such as shipping and logistics, digital services, agribusiness, medical tourism, creative industries, and renewable energy. However, despite the discussions, these industries have not yet scaled up into a transformative way. We are determined to take decisive actions to ensure that these opportunities materialize in a sustainable, high-value way that generates jobs, increase exports, and drive inclusive growth. Economic diversification is an imperative if we are to reduce our vulnerability to external shocks, create a more dynamic and competitive economy, and provide greater opportunities for Jamaicans across all sectors of the society. We must invest in the industries of tomorrow while strengthening the foundations of today. Madam Speaker, for decades, we have spoken of the vision to make Jamaica the premier logistics hub of the Americas. We are making steady progress towards realizing this vision. Madam Speaker, the Port of Kingston is a critical element of Jamaica's vision to become a global logistics hub, leveraging our strategic location at the intersection of the north-south and east-west shipping lanes. Since July 2016, we have entered into a 30-year concession agreement for the expansion and modernization of the Kingston Container Terminal. Over US $400 million has been invested in capital improvements, equipment, and advanced geopositioning technology to bring the terminal to world-class levels. An additional $50 million will be invested in 2025 in two more cranes and other equipment. Madam Speaker, cargo volumes at the terminal have surged by 50% since 2017. Employment at the terminal has also risen by 53%. Today, Kingston proudly ranks among the top 100 ports globally, a testament to the strategic advancements we have made. The rapid volume of growth means that we are running out of space to store containers. It is a good problem to have. To maintain our efficiency and competitiveness, we are taking decisive actions. The Port Authority of Jamaica is working with the Kingston Freeport Terminal Limited to expand cargo storage and construct an additional 15 hectares of space on the Westlands at a cost of US $80 million with potential for further expansion. On the map now being displayed, the area shaded in, well, the map is being displayed, but when it is, the area shaded in red shows the existing area of the Kingston Freeport Terminal Limited, and the area shaded in green is Kingston Wharves Limited. And this area, the area shown in yellow on the map, is the Westlands, where the $80 million will be spent to expand our port. In addition, Madam Speaker, as I had announced in my budget presentation last year, plans are in motion to relocate domestic aviation operations from Tinston Pen to Norman Manley International Airport and reroute Marcus Garvey Drive. This will free up significant additional lands needed for further port expansion. This is shown in blue on the map being displayed. And that's a big investment, Madam Speaker. And we are going to, in short order, see these investments come to fruition. Madam Speaker, I quickly want to say that the government recognizes that there are many roads, orphan roads as we call them. Some of them are in development and industrial estates. And Madam Speaker, The Newport West Road is one of them. The government is taking a proactive approach by engaging the private stakeholders who are willing to invest in the rehabilitation of the road that they use daily. I'm pleased to report that we will be entering into a public-private partnership arrangement with the Port Authority, the Jamaica Customs Agency, the National Works Agency, the Shipping Association of Jamaica, and the Kingston Wharves Limited for the repair of the road infrastructure in Newport West to cost over $80 million. We are actively exploring similar PPP arrangements for other priority areas where private sector collaboration can help fast-track road improvements. Now, this government is thinking differently and acting decisively to find solutions to long-standing challenges. Beyond the port and the lands in the immediate vicinity of the ports, another key pillar of our logistics vision is the 700-acre Caymanas Special Economic Zone project. Yes. Now, this has been spoken about so many times. I see the response of the leader of the opposition. He has been in Parliament and would have heard both sides speak about this. And as I said, it is part of my job to deal with these legacy issues.
He doesn't understand.
So, Madam Speaker, this project has been talked about for decades. The government is finally making it a reality with a strategic location near the Port of Kingston and major highways. The Caymanas Special Economic Zone is set to transform Jamaica's logistics and manufacturing sectors, attracting global investment and creating thousands of jobs. Madam Speaker, to catalyze the project, the Port Authority has been tasked with land preparation to address climate change risks, including flooding, bringing basic infrastructure and utilities to the site, creating direct transportation linkages to the container terminal, as well as constructing pre-built space for investors who would wish to come to Jamaica but would rather lease facilities. To date, the detailed engineering designs have been completed. The tendering process for the first phase of land preparation and infrastructure work is completed, and all the necessary approvals are in place. Madam Speaker, I am pleased to report that the groundbreaking for the Caymanas Special Economic Zone is scheduled for the first quarter of the incoming fiscal year. So, Madam Speaker, likely the end of April. So, we have gone past talk, we have done the work, and we are now ready to break ground and start construction. So, for decades we have talked about making Jamaica the logistics hub for the Americas. For too long, this vision remained but that, just a vision. But under this government, we are turning words into actions and plans into progress and ambition into achievements. We are not just talking about Jamaica's potential, we are unlocking it. Yes. We are building the logistics hub, creating jobs, driving investments, and securing our place in global trade. Madam Speaker, I have quite an extensive presentation here on tourism and how we're going to diversify tourism. But I'm going to ask the Minister of Tourism to make that presentation. But I want to go quickly to agriculture. Now, I now turn towards a sector that is fundamental to our survival and prosperity. Agriculture, the lifeblood of our nation. Agriculture is not just about tradition, it's about our future. A nation that cannot feed itself cannot be truly independent. Our policy is built on three pillars. First, reducing the cost of food for all Jamaicans. Second, maximizing. I am aware of the impact this is having on many families. Madam Speaker, this government will not increase the cost of food with more taxes. Instead, we have made strategic reviews of tariffs for food that we do not produce at competitive prices locally. A significant portion of every dollar spent on imported food would be taxes. There are import duties, stamp duties, and general consumption tax, not to mention compliance fees and environmental levy. A few months ago, the opposition spokesperson on agriculture said that he would put a little thing on food. Madam Speaker, I believe that he would do it. They did it not once, but twice. In 2007, their government introduced the environmental levy, and then in 2015, they increased it. They heap these taxes on the backs of Jamaican people, further increasing the cost of food. We'll not go back to those days. The Ministry of Agriculture, Fisheries and Mining, along with the Ministry of Finance and the Ministry of Industry, Investment and Commerce, established a working group to conduct a strategic review of all our food imports to determine which duties to reduce. Recommendations from the group are now being reviewed by the Ministry of Finance for implementation. Madam Speaker, I want to emphasize that these measures will not hurt our farmers. In fact, we will be increasing the Ministry of Agriculture's $1.2 billion production and productivity program to help our farmers navigate any uncertainty. Madam Speaker, in 2016, when we received a mandate from the Jamaican people, the level of direct support to farmers was around $200 million. In 2020, in our 2020 manifesto, we indicated that we would move that figure to at least $1 billion through our AgriCare initiative. We have held true to that commitment, and since then, we have provided over $4 billion in direct support to our farmers. Madam Speaker, the government will also ensure through the Consumer Affairs Commission and the Ministry of Agriculture that distributors, wholesalers, and supermarkets do not exploit consumers by inflating prices. Commodity price reports will be published bi-weekly through traditional and social media to keep the public informed and protect consumers from unfair practices. Madam Speaker, as we are all aware, last year was one of the most challenging years for agriculture. We saw our new climate realities on full display as we went through a drought, and then a Category 5 hurricane, and then non-stop rains. The recovery of our agriculture sector must be quick and robust. While a number of inputs critical to agriculture production are zero-rated, the Ministry of Agriculture has highlighted that seeds are not, and as such, are adding costs to local production. I have therefore directed the Minister of Finance and Public Service to do the necessary amendment to the GCT Act to make seeds zero-rated. We care for our farmers. We promote food security now, and we have to increase our international competitiveness and productivity. We will also revise the GCT Act to redefine eligible vehicles to include versatile options like panel vans and small trucks. These vehicles will now benefit from the existing 20% duty concession that currently applies to pickup trucks. In other words, we are removing barriers that limit our farmers' ability to transport perishable goods, equipment, and livestock livestock feed efficiently. You know, Madam Speaker, it's just the things that we do that make sense. Now, Madam Speaker, if you look at it, a farmer can easily get a duty concession for a van, a pickup that is essentially a luxury good. Essentially. But what they would really need is a vehicle with more capacity to carry load, which is more practical. And this is when bureaucracy becomes self-indulgent.
Thank you.
That is it. The bureaucracy is just self-indulgent. And it takes a practical eye to look at the thing and say, listen, just get it done. Don't tell me foolishness. Get it done. So we have to take that approach to transforming the bureaucracy. Because the practical thing is you need a small truck or a panel van.
Mark, you don't understand British language.
This government will also move to amend the age to permit the importation of light commercial vehicles from 10 to 15 years to reduce the financial burden on farmers. While our fish farmers have always benefited from these duty concessions, our marine fishers have not. And this is an unfortunate anomaly which must be addressed. So I have given directives that steps should be taken for our registered fishers to be included in the 20% duty concession regime. The effective date will be announced by the Minister of Finance. Yes. Madam Speaker, our farmers have faced repeated devastations from drought and storms. After such disasters, there are severe shortages and prices skyrocket. To compensate, farmers replant at the same time, resulting in an oversupply, and in turn, prices collapse. We are seeing this with tomatoes, for example. To address this, the government is expanding our cold storage capacity. Last month, we broke ground for a $124 million state-of-the-art facility in Kirkvine, Manchester. We have also started the procurement process to commence the refurbishment of the Colleyville cold storage facility. Madam Speaker, access to water has been a perennial challenge for decades, but this administration has presided over the most significant expansion of irrigation access in the history of Jamaica. I am pleased to announce that the Parnassus Agro Park, which would have benefited from the Southern Plains Agricultural Development Project, has now been completed. Over 60 farmers have been approved, and this new agro park will commence operation next month. The Southern Plain Agricultural Development Project has now benefited over 800 farms in total. Essex Valley, which would benefit over 1,000 farmers, is almost complete. The contract has been signed for the final element of the project, acquiring the pumps and the pumps for 5 wells. I look forward to the commissioning of the system as your Prime Minister in 2026. The final year, this financial year, we will start the civil engineering work for the $30 billion Pedro Plain irrigation scheme, which will benefit 5,000 farmers. What we did for our farmers in Parnassus, Comapen, Downs, New Forest, Amity Hall, and Bridgepen, we will now do for our farmers in Pedro Plains. Madam Speaker, as we look to the future of agriculture investment in research, but before I go to that, Madam Speaker, this Pedro Plains project was talked about before I was born. As I said, Madam Speaker, I find myself taking up these projects and trying to these legacy projects which other governments start or toyed around and never completed it. And Madam Speaker, it's not a complaint because when you take the baton, you have to run with it. Yes. But Madam Speaker, you're waiting for the baton and taking so many batons. It kind of slows you up because you want to be looking ahead. But the truth is, this is an important project. It's an important project. It is going to unleash the productivity of that area. And I'm happy, Madam Speaker, that I will be able to commission that project. Madam Speaker, as we look to the future of agriculture, investment in research and development is no longer optional. It is essential. To accelerate this transformation, we are investing $6.3 billion over the next 6 years in the renovation of bodles and other research stations. We are also actively engaging in partnerships with global leaders in agricultural innovation, including in India. Our own University of the West Indies, the College of Agricultural Science and Education, and the University of Technology will play a central role in advancing research tailored to Jamaica's unique landscape. To this end, we are converting CASE into a fully agricultural-based university. The government is also partnering with these institutions to share important scientific work, such as strategies to improve soil quality. Madam Speaker, this is a turning point. Agriculture must not be seen as an industry of hardship, but one of opportunity, investment, and national pride. We are ushering in a new era where farmers are empowered, where food prices are fair, and where Jamaica is globally competitive.
Martin British only about English stuff. Only British stuff. He doesn't understand. Martin British only about British things. Martin British. You know about British alone. Not here. That's Scotland.
Madam Speaker, the cultural and creative and entertainment industries are cornerstones of Jamaica's informal economy, contributing significant income for many families. Madam Speaker, rest assured, the Aspire growth strategy recognizes the vital role of these industries, and my administration is committed to providing the resources to support and expand them. Madam Speaker, a once forgotten location, Fort Rocky, is now poised to be our first declared entertainment zone.
Don't matter what with him.
The Minister of Culture. The Minister of Culture will give us more updates on some of the other initiatives that are there for the creative industries. But, Madam Speaker, you will recall the launch of the $1 billion Jamaica Screen Development Initiative launched in 2024. I am pleased to announce that 406 applications were received from local filmmakers, and 259 of these met the criteria for further evaluation. In fact, 7 projects have already been awarded film festival support. A further 9 films in progress will also be awarded support to complete their filming. And just yesterday, another 51 films were selected for development funding, and evaluation for films at the production level will begin shortly. This is the start of a burgeoning film industry in Jamaica. Madam Speaker, we can attract top-tier movie productions to Jamaica. We saw that with the Bob Marley movie produced by Paramount. And that film, for that film, over 1,800 short-term jobs were created, and US $20 million was spent in the country. JAMPRO is currently negotiating a co-production treaty with Canada, which will allow Canadian filmmakers to partner with Jamaican filmmakers to film in Jamaica. We are also pursuing similar arrangements with Nigeria, India, and South America. Madam Speaker, with sound policies and funding, we will make movies for the world based on our culture. Amen. That are produced by Jamaicans at Jamaican facilities. Madam Speaker, there is a great call for more incentives to the film industry and for entertainment. And the government is considering it very carefully because we understand the different dynamics of the film and entertainment industry. And so we are seriously reviewing our policy. We have made a commitment and we provided the $1 billion. In budgets to come, no doubt, we will provide further support. But what we have to be always careful with, Madam Speaker, is that when we provide scarce funding, we can't just allow it to be used up without tangible results coming from it. And so there is a process which can be very involved to ensure that we get value for money from the funds. But I want to say, Madam Speaker, that we see the great potential that just one big feature film can do for Destination Jamaica. So I want to give assurance to the people in the industry that the government is sympathetic, the government understands, and the government will make further allocations as they are possible given our fiscal situation. I would encourage our filmmakers, our script writers, and our producers not to be deterred by, and our animators, not to be deterred by any form of financial scarcity that might now exist. Develop your concepts, develop your films and your scripts, because the future for film and the support from the government is bright.
Margaret G, you convinced
Madam
me
Speaker,
next election, you me sitting here.
this government is committed to ensuring that no Jamaican is left behind.
Thank you.
Madam Speaker, we conceptualized a program called the New Social Housing Program. And when we conceptualized the program, the idea was to end kind of, homelessness and shelter poverty for persons who live in the worst of the worst housing conditions.
But they wanted to stay there. They had to cost with it.
Madam Speaker, I believe I have here some beneficiaries from the New Social Housing Program.
I think Margaret G no
We have Mr. Jefta McIntosh from Westmoreland. And I believe we have Evadne from, I believe that would be from St. Elizabeth. But, Madam Speaker, the New Social Housing Program is the epitome of care and solidarity with the poor. The criticism that it is one house, I don't mind. Every week, I'm doing 3, 4, 5, 6. Because the question must be asked, how many did they do? And Madam Speaker, yes, it's 4, 5, 6, 7. I could do more. But the thing is, Madam Speaker, there is now a system in place. There is now a process. And every week, we are delivering and handing over a house. We estimate that to end shelter poverty, we would have to build about 6,000 units to help the families who are in the worst of the worst. And we have already gone past 300. And this coming financial year, we are going to scale up what we are doing, because now we have some funding that's coming from tourism. So when we do 3 and 4 and 5 and 7 every week, now we can go up to 10 and 12 and 14. So we are going to increase the pace. So that is, that is the program. So
Everybody benefits. Under our government, everybody benefits.
So, Madam Speaker, this is the program that shows solidarity. In the 1980s, former Prime Minister Edward Seaga had a program called Solidarity. A program where we provided economic enablement to the poor. So we are announcing our renewed solidarity program, Madam Speaker. As we continue our mission to build a stronger and more inclusive Jamaica, we recognize that many of our citizens are in need, but do not benefit from any existing government program. To address this, we are introducing the $1 billion Solidarity Program. And in its first iteration, we will be providing a one-time cash grant of $20,000 to 50,000 vulnerable individuals. Who are not enrolled in PATH, social pension, NIDS, or the reverse income tax credit. So even Jamaicans who are not attached to anything, the state has compassion for you. The state is concerned about your welfare. The state cares about you. We stand in solidarity with you. So the initiative will support elderly persons in need, youth not engaged in education or employment, micro businesses affected by disaster, low-income informal workers, medically indigent individuals, and persons with disabilities facing economic hardship. We have to find all of these people who are in the society who are left out and who are suffering. Madam Speaker, we recognize that some of these persons may lack formal identification, and this may be a barrier to them participating in other social support programs. The government will assist them in obtaining birth certificates through Operation Birthright and securing a national identification card to facilitate their inclusion in future opportunities. So we are proposing the online portal that was used for the CARE program during the pandemic, and applications will be made through this portal. Referrals will be managed through the Ministry of Labour and Social Security, and we will enlist the members of Parliament, as they did during the pandemic, to find the persons in their constituencies who qualify and ensure that they enroll for this program. Madam Speaker, so the Solidarity Program would be the first expression of the care, but we want to continue to care for them. So we want them to be identified and registered with the state. So if there are, an elderly person, they don't have not registered on the pension program, bring them onto this. If they could qualify for the PATH program, we start to investigate their case. If they're a young person and they're not attached to any training program, we get them onto a training program. So that's the idea. Right, and then some of them might need support with health. Get them on the health fund. Right, so that's the whole idea behind this Solidarity program. So we will be once you are registered, then we can constantly bring the programs of the state to support you in these issues. Madam Speaker, our nation thrives on the dedication and the resilience of our workforce, especially those who contribute daily in essential but oftentimes underappreciated roles. From household workers and artisans to laborers, store clerks, and security personnel. These individuals form the backbone of our economy, supporting industries that drive national development and prosperity. Therefore, we are pleased to announce that starting from June 1, 2025, the national minimum wage will increase from $15,000 per 40-hour work week to $16,000 per 40-hour work week. This represents a 6.7% increase, reinforcing our commitment to improving the livelihoods of our lowest paid workers while ensuring economic stability. Madam Speaker, when my administration took office in 2016, the minimum wage was $16,200. This latest, 6,200. I was just checking if you're listening. 6,200. This latest increase to 16,000 represents an unprecedented 158% increase over 9 years. Cumulative inflation over that period remains well below this rate, and even in the United States dollars. This adjustment represents significant real growth in earnings for minimum wage workers. The government remains committed to creating prosperity for Jamaica and Jamaicans, and we are proud to share these gains with all. This government remains committed to supporting our hardworking citizens, ensuring fair wages, and improving living standards for all Jamaicans as we move forward together towards a more prosperous future. My fellow Jamaicans, in just a decade, we have transformed Jamaica from the brink of economic collapse into the strongest economy since our independence. We have conquered the challenges of macroeconomic stability and debt reduction. Hard-fought victories that have freed us from the cycle of crisis after crisis. It is now time for us to build on the strong foundation that we have created to focus on generating robust growth that will deliver more opportunities for all Jamaicans to pursue their God-given talent and fulfill their dreams and aspirations. We are ready to move Jamaica to the next chapter, which is about accelerating growth for peace, productivity, and prosperity. It means that the mother working tirelessly to provide for her children can look forward to great opportunities and a better quality of life. It means that the young entrepreneur with big dreams will find the support to turn ideas into success. It means that every citizen, whether in the hills of St. Thomas, the streets of Kingston, or the fields of St. Elizabeth, will feel the impact of a government that is working for them. This next chapter is about building a Jamaica where hard work is rewarded, where dreams are nurtured, and where prosperity is not just for the few, but for all. The next chapter will not unfold overnight. Just as it took years of discipline and sacrifice to secure our economic stability, achieving true economic independence and sustained growth will require continued focus, effort, and an unwavering commitment to national progress. But history has shown that when we Jamaicans come together as one people, our resilience, determination, and spirit knows no bounds. Madam Speaker, this government has never been about empty promises or mere talk. We have an unmatched track record of performance and results. When the world faced the worst global health and economic crisis in 100 years, it was this government that led Jamaica through the storm, protecting lives, safeguarding businesses, and ensuring that our economy rebounded stronger than ever. While many nations are still struggling, Jamaica stands strong. With record low unemployment, the lowest debt in 50 years, robust reserves, and stable, resilient economy that is delivering for the people. Madam Speaker, while others are talking, this government has been working because, as Proverbs 14:23 reminds us, all hard work brings a profit, but mere talk leads only to poverty. The Jamaican people know who has delivered for them. The Jamaican people know who has steered this country through crises and into prosperity. Madam Speaker, the Jamaican people also know that the work is not yet done. I call on all Jamaicans at home and abroad to join us in writing Jamaica's next chapter. Let us together aspire for the greatness that is the endowment of our forebears. The greatness we know we have always been capable of, the greatness that has defined us throughout history, and the greatness that will propel us into the future of boundless opportunity. Let us move forward, not just with hope, but with action. Let us not just dream with our eyes closed, but envision and create the future with our eyes open. My fellow Jamaicans, now more than ever, I am convinced that Jamaica's best days are ahead of us. My fellow Jamaicans, this is a year of decision. This is a year when you will be called upon to make a choice. For the first time, a prospectus has been placed before you, not a manifesto, not a promise of what we intend to do, but a prospectus, a dissertation of what we have done. For the first time, you have a rational basis on which to judge options. The choice of selecting a government is always an emotional one. Sometimes it can be as emotional as your connection to a football team. But the consequence of supporting the wrong football team cannot compare to the anguish that you will suffer if you support the wrong government. I have stood in this parliament and I have given the history lesson of Jamaica's economic experience. I have given you the information on which you can make your rational decisions. I urge every Jamaican in this year of decision to choose wisely, choose rationally. I urge you as I close, choose Jamaica.
massive tool.
Tony, wake up, man. I go
Mark
up
it,
there.
run teachment, and left Tony asleep. No, Mark the British rather. Mark the British run, and left Tony asleep.
House Leader. House Leader, please turn your mic on. House Leader. House Leader, please turn your mic on. Turn your mic on. Just turn on your mic.
Yes. Yeah, man, I know. Okay, colleagues, I just want to indicate that a bit of history, in addition to everything else, has been made today. Because this was the longest budget presentation by a prime minister in this parliament, to my best knowledge. No, this is 5 hours plus. Yes, no. Do you start at 2:15? But indeed, members, it's not the length of the presentation, but it's the substance of the presentation. And so I, Madam Speaker, would ask that we suspend this element of the financial debate on the appropriations bill until Tuesday, March 25th, when the Speaker who will close the debate will be the Minister of Finance and the Public Service and Member of Parliament for St. Andrew Eastern, the Honourable Favour Williams.
Please remain standing. Those in favour, please remain standing, House Leader. Those against, the ayes have it. House Leader.
Madam Speaker, it's not intended to do any further business this evening. I therefore move that the House be adjourned until Tuesday, March 25th at 2 p.m. at the George William Gordon House. May it please
Question is
Madam
that
Speaker.
this House do now adjourn until March 25th at 2 p.m. Those in favour? Those against, ayes have it. This Honourable House now stands adjourned.
Good management of your tax dollars has enabled me to achieve this and many more. This has really been a life-changing experience for me and my family. And I have so much thanks to give to this country. This is really joy for me. I am glad for this. And I can't say how much I thank Jamaica, because this is all done by Jamaica. Honorable Prime Minister, you are giving us, this family, a chance to enhance our standard of living. We thank you. This is a worthy cause, and where I'm coming from, to see where I've reached. To God be the glory. Great things He has done.
This is Bishop Dale Bronner. Thank you so much for joining our